Everyone, this is Uche Maple. Hi, the host of the Women Who Leap Network. I am also the president of Noteworthy Consulting, a leadership and professional development consulting firm where we work with engineering leaders to enhance their team engagement and productivity. We help them streamline their communications across technical disciplines, and we help foster innovation while meeting strict deadlines. So, in a sense, we help we partner with organizations to empower their workforce to meet all and every critical deadlines. I'm excited today. I'm excited today because one of the things that we talk about all the time that I keep people to ask me is help. I'm overwhelmed, and Uche, I can't seem to get anything completed. All right, let's go. Okay, so hi everyone. Let's talk about this. Right now, in the age of information, there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things going on right now, right? And it can be very, very much overwhelming. So when I hear that, hey, Uche, I can't get anything done, what does that really mean? So my question I always ask is a couple of things is when you say you're overwhelmed, what does that mean? What does that look like? Like, what does that look like? Are you having a hard time concentrating? Do you feel as if that, when you're trying things that you're just not making any movement, like you're moving around, but you don't feel like you're making progress? You can't track at the end of the day, what is something that I've completed because you're moving from task to task, things to things, and after a while it can become overwhelming. So what I'm going to talk about briefly is one, um, what things that you can do. Two, how can you celebrate yourself? And three, really for you to take a hard look at, what, how did my life become like this? So let's just start from the beginning. Okay. First and foremost, we want to take inventory. I always say this is that when we are in it, when we finally come to realize that what we've been doing isn't working, I always say take a moment and pause. You take a moment and pause, and it's time for you really to reflect on what is happening right now in my life that I am in this space that I'm in. I'm in this space of overwhelm. What is happening around me that I have actually put myself in this space? And you have to be honest with yourself. Like you have to have a real honest conversation of how you got here and why are you still here. Because before we can really identify what we need to do moving forward, we really need to, in a way, like assess. Like, when we go to the doctor and they ask us questions before they do like any type of tests to understand what's happening, it's really the same format. Is you start asking yourself questions like, um, well, what am I doing now? What has happened in my life? Oh, okay, this happened. And then you just start at like, okay, because this happened, what things came with that? And then what things am I doing so that I never have to feel this way or that I don't put myself in this position again? So, one of the things, for those of you who know my story is that um, being an engineer in the aerospace and defense industry, I primarily, like maybe the first 15 years of my career, I was usually the only female or the only African American or usually the only African American female in meetings that I would be in no matter what. In teams, my teams that I worked with, in meetings, I was usually the only one. And I know you probably heard this story time and time again because it's one that we always have. Um, but there was a time where I was leading um, a project, and I really got a sense of overwhelm. And I was like, dang, it felt like no matter what I was doing, I wasn't making any progress. I wasn't making any traction. in the tasking that I had. And um, I had to really think about like, well, why am I in this? What has happened in this environment? And one thing that I realized very quickly that I didn't know because I'm working was that I had become accustomed to the toxic environment around me. And I remember this because it was as if every day I would come into work and there was something going on. And I was like, this isn't normal. What happens is we become conditioned. Things that are not normal, we actually make them normal because we condition ourselves to it. I learned this in Psych Book 101. You're going to probably be hearing me talk about my Psych Book 101 because it's such a good class. But I had conditioned myself, my body, everything, to adapt to the toxic environment. And something happened one day. And it was where I had actually got into a major disagreement with someone who was on my team. And it really, really took a toll on my body, really took a toll on me mentally. And I said, I would never, ever, I thought I would never put myself in this again. And I'll never forget, I was like I remember I was like going to church a lot. I was having conversations with God and I was praying a lot and really for peace on how I need to move forward. And this took time. I'm not saying this happened overnight, but this did take time. And I do remember that as I was learning how to remove myself from this environment that I had adapted to, not physically move or I was finding another job, but mentally and spiritually move. Um, I remember I went to work and one of my coworkers, he said, "You seem different," because I had a peace about me. I was no longer arguing. I was actually elated. I was happy. And he said, "There's something different about you." And I remember telling him, I said, it was divine intervention. It was divine intervention. So I say this is that when we are overwhelmed and we can't get anything done, we really need to assess what's around us so that we can take inventory, so that we know how to treat the illness. You got to learn how to treat it, right? Just like a wound. When you have a wound that's infected, you got to open up that wound. You got to look at it. And then you got to pour some stuff in there to disinfect it, right? And then you got to add some ointment. And depending on how deep it is, either you stitch it up or you put a Band-Aid around it so that no foreign things can get into it again and reinfect it, right? So you have to diagnose it. And one thing that was instrumental is was, let me say this. I'm going to bring this up because I thought this was good. I was reading again. I'm always reading articles, and I saw this on the Harvard Business Review. It was an article that was written years ago, 2011. It said the power of small wins. The power of small wins, and they also talk about what's the best way to drive innovation work inside organizations. But this was so key for me when I was not just reading the article, but going back, was in order for me to make traction or to feel like I got something done, I had to celebrate the small wins. So a small win could be, oh my gosh, I was able to finish, like the introduction of this report, or I was able to have a key discussion with someone to get information that I was missing that I didn't know, or I gained knowledge in this area that I was like really confused on because it didn't make sense. And then every day I used to write down, I mean, as an example, I'm not saying I will write on my notebook, in my engineering notebook, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, I will write all the things I need to do today. And then things that I got done, I will circle it and celebrate that win. So instinctively, because one of the ways that I thrive is, I am a Gallup certified coach, and one of my strengths is competition. And because it's or achiever, it's achiever. And as an achiever, I thrive on completion task. So for me, I know that if I don't get things completed, if I don't complete something every day, no matter what it is, I don't feel like I'm getting anything done. And at times for me, that can be overwhelming. Like I can get a sense of overwhelming because I'm just doing stuff, but I don't feel like I'm making progress. So celebrating the small wins really help reduce the overwhelm. It did. It helped reduce the overwhelm. And I'm going to give you a couple of other things that you should do as well. Well, let's talk about this. Let's say for the first thing is what are some signs? People are like, well, Uche, I'm saying I'm overwhelmed, but what are some signs? Some signs is feeling confused or forgetful. Yo, that was me. Too much data. Feeling confused or forgetful. Having difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep because your mind is constantly going on things that you need to do. So you can't even enjoy the rest in your own bed to prepare for the next day because you're having a little bit of overwhelm. Irritability, sadness, anxiety, and then sometimes low energy where you just don't want to be around people or enjoy things that you usually enjoy. Those are just some of the signs. Some of the causes of this, one is too many responsibilities, whether it's at work, at home, or in the social life, because you always volunteer. I'll do it. I'll volunteer, knowing that you got to take care of yourself. You got to go to the gym. You need to take care. If you have a parent that you got to take care of, you take care of kids. If you are, you're and your spouse spend time, and you still volunteering for stuff. Yeah, mm-hmm. Those are some. That's a cause. Um, worry about money or your debt or job security, especially right now. That could be a cause for just overwhelm as well. Information overload. We know that social media. And then pretty much, this is my thing, high expectations of yourself because you didn't complete something in the time frame that you put on there. Because you're assessing like, well, I'm supposed to have this done by this time. And I'm always in the mindset now is that because life is moving so fast that we have to enjoy the moment and celebrating any win, no matter how small it is, gives us a certain level of gratitude. And that when we show up the next day, we show up in the spirit of gratefulness. So that's some of the causes and some of the ways on how to reduce and or remove overwhelm is one, try to eliminate your stressors. What are some of the stressors, and then eliminate that. A stressor again could be notifications. I know again for me, I'm just saying something really small is when something comes up, a notification, or when you get a text message, or when someone stop it. I can't do that. And then you got it on at night. That's insane. You're never off. Okay, I digress. Another way is by getting social support. Talk to people that you know and trust. Because those things can help alleviate your stress because now you're able to talk about it and just the love that people will be pouring out to you, and then sometimes advice because then you're not alone. And then also to relax your muscles because baby, sometimes when I'm doing stuff I don't even know that I tensed up and I'm like, yo, my neck is getting stiff and I have to like, oh, okay. Relax your muscles. Give yourself some grace. Do some stuff to get yourself where you're like, okay, I'm feeling good. Go to a spa. Go to a sauna. Walk around the neighborhood. But relax your muscles. Relax. I used to run track, so we used to do all this, get ourselves loose before, getting on that track field. Okay. Meditate. I love to sit down in the morning with me and my Bible, me and my God, and we just going at it to give me a sound mind as I execute every day in His will. And I love it because it gives me peace. And this is something, let me be clear. We have to practice these things so that they become habitual and they become part of us. It's not something that's going to happen instantaneously. Yeah, I know we're in an instantaneous environment, but things don't happen instantaneously. So let's just be honest. Okay. The next one is reframe your thinking. Man, the renewing of the mind. We got to change how we think about things. Things that we shouldn't stress about, we stress about. And things that we should stress about, we don't. So let's try to really reframe our mind, to reframe how we think about things so that we don't put ourselves in a position of overwhelm. And then the last one, which is so key, is protect your sleep. You hear me? There's this 10-minute meditation exercise that is so good. I'm gonna put the link on there. And put the link in the comments. It's so good. It is like when I'm done with this, I feel like butter. I feel like butter. And I would do it before I go to bed. And then we have to make sure that before you go to bed, that you have to speak life to you. One thing that I learned, I remember watching this cartoon growing up. I don't know what it was, but the cartoon has said something like, you can control your dreams when you sleep. And I was like, and I took that to heart as a child, that I would always, in my dreams, I'm aware that I will try to control my dreams, like on what I'm doing. And one of the things that I was want to do was fly in my dreams. So I was like, you gonna fly today? Especially if someone was chasing me. In my dream, someone was chasing me. I was like, you gonna fly. And I would always soar. But then it's like I will run out of power and then I start falling. And I'm like, dang, I don't want to fall. But my point is that I'm protect your dream. And one way that I do that is through meditation before I go to bed. And then I pray for God to protect my mind, my soul, and my spirit. And I also also pray to give me a restorative sleep. So I am protecting my mind. I'm protecting my sleep so that it is a fruitful sleep for me, so that when I wake up, I am in the right spirit to start the day. That makes sense? The incremental wins that you do every day, it allows you to celebrate that you have completed one small thing or one great thing, one big thing. But making sure that we are not positioning ourselves to be in overwhelm every day is what's going to help us in our life. It's going to help us as leaders in the workplace, leaders in our business, so that we can be more impactful and help those who really need the help in their lives. All right, thanks for joining me, everyone. This is Uche Maple, and I'm out.